Food inflation in particular, the surging cost of rice prices, is a key driver to headline inflation. Keep the cost of rice down and overall inflation follows. Good Thursday and hopefully drier evening. Monique Tuzon here, homegrown and happy to bring you PTV News Now. And happy news top bills our stories for tonight, with government taming and reining in rice prices substantially from 20.9% in the month of July to 14.7% last month. This latest figure announced in a virtual meeting earlier today by the country's top statistician, Dennis Mapa, who said the slowdown in rice inflation last month as the most substantial since October of last year, when government posted rice inflation at 13.2%. A slowdown in rice inflation turns on a drop in food inflation that bodes well for headline inflation, which also posted yet a noteworthy dip last month to 3.3% from 4.4% in July. A welcome development not lost on the president, who hailed this hard-earned victory as a win or triumph for each and every Filipino, underscoring his decision to approve the slash rice tariffs paid off with a slide in rice and meat prices last month. For his part, PSA head honcho Dennis Mapa was even more rosy, with an even brighter forecast for next month, even with the adverse effects of typhoons Karina and Enteng and the southwest monsoon on the agriculture sector. Let's face it, Hamas's murder of over 1,200 Israelis and foreigners from 40 countries in October last year deserves the harshest punishment and retribution. But Israel's slaughter of tens of thousands of innocent Palestinians over the last 11 months has gone way over proportion and needs to stop. And the British government, under a new leadership, has finally gotten the courage to tell Israel there will be no weapon shipments until the unrelenting bombing and killing of innocent Palestinians in Gaza comes to a stop. VOA's Henry Ridgewell filed this report.
Britain on Monday suspended around 30 of the 350 licenses for weapons exports to Israel after a legal review concluded there was a clear risk they might be used to commit serious violations of international humanitarian law in Gaza. Prime Minister Keir Starmer said Wednesday Britain still supported Israel's right to self-defence.
But in relation to licences, this isn't an Israel issue, it's the framework for all licences that have to be kept under review. We either comply with international law or we don't. And we only have strength in our arguments because we comply with international law.
The export bans include components used in helicopters, fighter jets and drones. It will have little impact on the Israeli Defence Forces operations, says analyst Yossi Meckelberg.
Most of Israeli weapons and ammunition will come actually from the United States and Germany. It's amount to nearly 99% of the arms supplied to Israel.
But the symbolism of Britain's move is more significant, Meckelberg says.
Suspension sends a clear message that you can be a friend of Israel, you can support Israel and the UK, including Labour. Supporting of Israel, especially after October 7, and rightly so, but at the same time to disagree fundamentally with the way Israel conducts the war and how it uses weapons.
The move could have wider consequences, says analyst Andreas Krieg.
It kind of shows that for the very first time that a very close partner and ally of Israel doesn't trust the Israeli government when they're saying that they are complying with the laws of armed conflict. Other European countries might want to now revisit their arms export licenses.
Israel denies breaking international law in Gaza and says it only targets Hamas militants, whom it accuses of hiding in schools and hospitals and using human shields. Critics accuse Israeli forces of indiscriminate attacks in the conflict that began after Hamas killed 1,200 in Israel on October 7th. The Hamas-run health ministry says more than 40,000 Palestinians. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described Britain's move to ban some arms exports as shameful. Netanyahu is facing domestic opposition to the war in Gaza and his failure to secure the release of hostages, says analyst Krieg.
Moving against the Netanyahu government is now seen less and less so as moving against Israel as a whole or the Israeli public.
Meanwhile, the European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, last week proposed sanctioning 2 unnamed Israeli government ministers over the war in Gaza for allegedly violating human rights. Any decision on sanctions would have to be unanimous among EU member states. Borrell, VOA News, London.
Right now, let's turn to my colleague in PTV's Baguio City studios for what's happening of late in the Cordilleras. Audrey.
Naimbag Arabi, Pilipinas. Gapoy ti mapaspasaran at tudo at dati da dumapos sa ti Beneko ang natumba. Gapoy ti panagraga ay ti dagaan ang itunda iti panakapukaw ti supply ti kuryente kadagiti da duma ang munisipyo ti Benguet. Gapoy ti narga ay apasat ti bantay iti kilometer 29 Kalaking Atok, Benguet. Naapektaran ti 2 apose ti kuryente ti Benguet Electric Cooperative. Gapoy ti dayta, napukawan iti kuryente ti Tublay, Kapangan ken Kibungan. Adamot dagiti personnel da iti lugar tapno isubli ti supply ti kuryente. Iti power monitoring report ti Beneco itay agsapa, 96% iti Baguio City ken Benguet ti adaan iti kuryente. Dumanon mat iti nasurok 500,000 pesos ti dadaal kadagiti poste ti kuryente kang runan iti munisipyo ti Kabayan sa runwan ti Tublay ken Sablan, Benguet. Naka-deploy mat ti 54 alignment ti opisina da tapno i-monitor dagiti madadaal a linya ti kuryente.
We ask our member consumer owners ng Beneco na pahabain natin yung ating pasensya because hindi man tayo perfect, but then we are in the situation na ganito. So we expect na talagang may mangyayari kagaya nga nito. We don't control yung slide. So
iti sabali adamag gapu iti epekto ti habagat ang mapaspasaran na ilisa ti panagrega ay dagiti daduma a kalsada iti Cordillera. Nakamonitor mat dagiti kamong ti DPWH Cordillera para iti madagdagos nga aksyon. Iti daytoy a post, narga iti pasat ti bantay ijay kilometer 29 Atok, Kaliking, Benguet, itay agsapa, gapo iti agtultuloy a panagtudo. Gapo iti dayta na stranded kensan a nakadalyasat dagiti lugan. Dagos mat anay patungpal ti clearing operation isuan na ilukat matlaang kadagiti amin a motorista. Na monitor mat ti panagtenag dagiti batbato iti pasat ti Camp 4 Cannon Road, Tuba, Benguet. Isua dagiti barangay official, paganaan na denda dagiti amin ang dumalyasat iti kalsada. Nakalukat ti Cannon Road para kadagiti motorista. Nakapasar matlaang dagiti sumagmamano a kalsada iti rehiyon iti slides, kas iti Ifugao, Kalinga ken Mountain Province. Sigun iti Department of Public Works and Highways, amin a national road ken rangtay ket passable. Nakadeploy matan dagiti personnel da amang ipatungpal iti clearing operation.
Hindi lang tayo left and right ang tingin, pwede tayong tumingala dahil hindi natin nakikita kung ano yung biglang mahuhulog sa atin. So watch out for falling rocks also, not only on your side or on your left side or on your right side.
Dagiti damdamag manipud diti PTV Cordillera, shock ni Audrey Villena, Naimbag Arabi.
Many thanks, Audrey. And we've come to the end of our show tonight. Always make it a habit to stay connected by keeping it here for news you can rely on. Monique Tuzon here wishing you all a restful night ahead and thank you for watching PTV News Now.